On air, online, on now. Pre-recorded from Volpit Studios, it's the MCS1 show. And now your host, MCS1.
Welcome everyone to an exciting edition of the MCS1 show. I'm MCS1, your amazing podcast host. I am joined with my usual co-host, Caleb Hennon, and our At the Movies expert and producer, Merlin. Hey guys,
Hey,
how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Oh, I was doing great until, until this happened. Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, we were recording an At the Movies podcast. It was The Flash. And I was joking, like, hey, let's do a Borderlands movie where none of us has seen it. And then we kind of ended up seeing it. And after seeing it, as I was uploading The Flash, oddly enough, I was like, wow, this is like, I have to do this now, which I will get into the terrible circumstances of why and how that this came about. But Borderlands, this is going to be not like a rough one, but kind of a rough one. So buckle up, buckaroos. It's going to get crazy. So if you're listening to this show, you either listen to the MCS1 show regularly or you searched Borderlands movie review and came into us that way. So either way, you're going to have a good time with this. So let's just get started. We MCS1 show, we usually review movies like once a month, but lately there's been so many interesting movies that have come out that have had controversy around them. It's turned into a regular thing. Like, I don't want to say we've turned into a movie review podcast, but holy cow, we're slowly morphing into a movie review podcast. Hooray, I guess, because the world needs another one of those.
I was about to say, I'm like, because there's not enough already.
There's just not enough out there.
Only several hundred.
Oh boy. So this one's going to be quite interesting. So Borderlands, let's just get right into it. Not just like the movie, but the video game, which was the original IP. So this has been like the year of interesting video game adaptations, or I would say not even year, but maybe year and a half, because last year we had Mario, which received a lot of success. And then the Fallout gaming series on Amazon Prime Video, that turned out to be really well. Great adaptation.
We should probably do a review of that one so that we're not constantly sad.
I think so. I think we're gonna do it. I like the idea of that. Let's add that to the calendar. So, and then like The Last of Us last year did really well too. And then after you have like these movies that have had great critical success, you gotta have one that just sucks. And this is the one that sucks. This is Borderlands. So Borderlands, like its IP, it's really weird, but it's really fun. And Merlin and Cameron we used to play Borderlands a lot. Like Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, that was our thing. Merlin and I have some very fond memories of that.
Oh, yeah.
I think some of the best ones that we have had with that is we were playing so much, and it was my roommate, and our neighbor below us was like, hey, Mark's roommate, having fun with the video games, talking about Merlin. And my roommate was like, what are you talking about? And so it took us a while to figure out what was going on through our neighbors that were like living below us. But apparently, like when Merlin and I were playing video games, I'd be like, Merlin, help me, Merlin. And I would just be like yelling at him. And this guy lived below me and I had no idea, and he could hear me the whole time. And he thought it was my roommate instead. And so there was one night, and this guy also, like, he was kind of a D-bag, so I don't feel like super bad for him. But there was apparently one night, like, he just went and like started sleeping on the couch instead of his room. And his roommates were like, Merlin again? And they're like, yeah, Merlin again. Like, it was just like so much of that going on. Another thing that like we did that was like really fun, we had like our own little rules within the game.
Yes.
That were really cool. Like there was golden keys in this game, which would like unlock like new cool guns in a chest in the main city. And but there was also these notoriously bad like loading screens. And anyway, with the loading screens, every time someone tried to like travel like to the next area, if someone opened up their menu, the loading screen would just stop. And so we would make someone spend a golden key for that. And it was like, if someone opened up the menu, it's like, spend a key. And there was just like all sorts of like fun little memories and things that like Merlin and I had, like good times playing those games.
I think you need to mention the golden rule was you don't hack the game.
Yeah. One thing that did happen once, and this really upset me and hurt, was like I didn't like people like hacking the game. Because like,
it takes away from the fun. Like,
it takes away the fun. And
if you hack a game, it takes away like the game's integrity. Like if you hack a game, why play the game if you just gotta, you know?
Yeah, and it was a co-op game, so it was based on how well you worked with other people. Like it wasn't the type of game you could be selfish with. Which is why I played really well with Merlin and Cameron, because like when we picked up certain gear, we were like, okay, this person uses this gun, have this. Like we optimized our team really well, and it was like pretty cool. We were playing with someone that, one time we had a mutual friend come in while we were playing with not Merlin and Cameron, but two other people.
I was gonna say, like, we got two unnamed party members.
Two unnamed party members. So party member number 1 comes in and starts talking about hacking the game. And party member number 2 was like, really? And party member 2 was terrible, just not good at the game at all. And so the next time we play with party member number 2, we're fighting this huge boss. Party member number 2 pulls out a bazooka, shoots it 3 times, and it dies. It was like a 10-second fight. I'm like, boy, whoa, what is going on? Because this guy sucked. And we were always having to save him and all this other stuff.
Sucks.
It sucks.
It sucks. It never sucked.
Yeah. And,
it's like,
yeah.
but we were all shocked because we thought there was a glitch in the game because we fought Terramorphous like 5 times before that, and we couldn't beat him. So we tried doing it again, and then it was like the 5th time. All of a sudden, he just dies, and we were like shocked. Like we
were so shocked, and I'm like, what is going? Like I got like immediately on this dude, and I said,
super defensive. That's what you got. You got super defensive
because like
that was one rule. That was still one rule.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is that? It's like, oh, it's this bazooka I found. I'm like, throw it down. I want to see the stats. Like I was just irate and
throw it down. I want to see the stats.
It's not working, and I'm just like, yeah, okay. So he hacked the game, and it kind of ruined it. And then we kind of just ended up playing without it.
Well, it was because it was your one rule, Mark. And to anyone who knows Mark, if you ever play online games, if he says don't hack the game, I'm not going to play with you, he will literally follow through with it and not play with you after that. Because
it's cheating, and it's like,
I think like you said, it's a teamwork game, and if one person's just going to do all the work, then what's the other players doing? You know,
right? And it's kind of like I heard this a long time ago, like with movies and like watching stuff. It's really not about the movie or whatever. It's about the person you're watching it with.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's how I feel about like the game. So if you're gonna like hack through it, it's like
100%.
At that point it becomes all about me.
100%. Yep.
Rather than the group and the friends, and it's just not the same. So yeah, that's my one.
I was just like, that's probably the golden story like we have, because that's a story that we tell like all the time. And,
yeah,
like, you know,
and I also just like lost my crap over.
Well, but like actually, so like, I mean, like Cam and I also agreed. Well, like, yeah, like if you can't just one shot everything again, what's the point of the game?
Yeah, and you already have the best stuff at that point, so it's like, why bother?
Exactly.
So we had a lot of great memories with this game, lots of fun. And we fought tons of different bosses with it. So just like all around, like this is really cool as a moment that's been like cemented in our lives. We actually had for a while, like we were streaming on Twitch the pre-sequel, and that was a lot of fun. And we had like a fake donations page. It was like donate to my imaginary cats. We didn't get any donations to that, but it was still like real. It was still there. And we had people come in, and we were like busting jokes. Like in the game of Borderlands, the pre-sequel, there's a machine in there called the grinder, which like you take weapons and throw it into the grinder. It puts out other different things. that could potentially be better. It's kind of a gamble. It was cool. And I said something like, yeah, I downloaded an app with all these the recipes for this. It's called Grinder. And I was just like milking that joke on Twitch for like ever. Like every time someone new would pop in and watch us.
I think that's one thing about the Borderlands. Like, I think going into this movie review, that's why the movie's disappointing. Because the game was polar opposites. The game had so much potential, great characters, great writing, great
Very
gameplay.
unique art style.
Oh my gosh, the art style deserves its own credit in itself. Like, just, I think going into this review, let's say a lot of the frustration comes from you took this amazing game, like kind of its own individual game that no one else had, and they made such a great fan following for it, only to make a movie out of it, and this is what you got, you know?
Yeah, and the thing about like the Borderlands story, it's nothing like super amazing or like unique, but
it's basically simple if you really think about it. It's a very simple story.
But it's fun. And the thing about the Borderlands games was the more people you played with, the more fun you had, unless one of them cheats.
More of the story of this whole podcast.
Yeah.
Don't cheat. It's stay in school.
Cheat. So let's talk about movie pre-production, because this is when things start going downhill. Right at the very beginning. So at the very beginning, the CEO of Gearbox, Gearbox is the company that owns Borderlands. His name is Randy Pitchford, and honestly, I don't want to spend like my whole time like complaining about Randy Pitchford, but he's just like a shady dude. There's just like so many different controversies with him. Voice actors in games have like just had so many issues with them where they have either gotten fired, they haven't gotten paid, or they're just not invited back. One main character that in the series Claptrap, he was voiced by an employee. And then when the second Borderlands came out, they're like, we're going to get someone else to voice him because this guy wanted like money to be paid as a voice actor to do this. And this is a common thing that like Gearbox does as well, is they try to get internal employees to voice these own characters rather than paying some hardcore voice actors if they can avoid it. Like Borderlands 3, then one of the main villains, the main female villain, was the person who does like their social media management, which was interesting because the main villains were influencers, which is also like kind of funny and very unique. So Randy, he's just like got all this controversy. There's all these other issues surrounding him. I'm not going to get into those, but the guy does not have like good business sense for things. And he's one of these types of people, like he says ideas and you're like, yeah, but they're like not the type of ideas you want to implement, but they get implemented because he's CEO. And I've been in positions in companies where we had CEOs with bad ideas, and there's so many yes men, they're like, yeah, let's do that. And it ends up being terrible. And that's kind of what happened with Borderlands, one of the many things. Borderlands, the game, the height of it, like Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, it was like the mid-2010s. And then I would say shortly after that, that would have been the time to make this movie while the hype was just like up. It's kind of very similar with the Warcraft movie. Like Warcraft, it peaked in like 2009, and 2010 is pretty much when it like was done. And then like everything started like kind of going downhill with that. And then the movie came out like what, 5-6 years later?
Yeah, 2016, I think it was.
Yeah. And so once again, the train has been missed. So the movie, based on how graphic the game is and its violence, would be like generally speaking like rated R easily. So Lionsgate, the studio that made this for the movie, they wanted to go with a PG-13 rating, which does not make sense because the people that would have been invested into this game, if they were playing it like the 2010s and like the height of this, like they'd probably be at like their early 20s at minimum. So this PG-13 rating doesn't make a lot of sense. And this is one of these things where you get like so many producers in the room and they just start coming out with bad ideas and no one's there to say, no, that's terrible. And then if you're throwing in, you know, Randy Pitchford from Gearbox, probably doing the same type of thing, and they're just ripping off each other. It's just like an endless feedback loop of bad ideas. So the movie's pre-production gets weirder and weirder. They had a director change, and they made it to Eli Roth, who is famous for making gore movies, like horror, like torture gore, basically.
I was going to say, when I saw he was involved in it, I was like, oh, it'll maybe be a little bit more, PG-13.
Yeah, maybe this will be like a hard PG-13,
Yeah.
but it wasn't.
It was very
It
soft.
was something that's very different, and it's a very different style of action than what he was used to.
Yeah.
So that was kind of odd. And then the casting was announced, and this is where people had a lot of like hang-ups. People were not pleased, mostly because the ages of the actors compared to the video game characters was very different. Like a lot of the actors and actresses were much older than the age of the characters in the video game, which there's nothing really wrong with that, but it was like nearly every actor, with the exception of one person. Kevin Hart, who everyone naturally hated anyway, because he did not fit the role of the character that he was playing based on how he was in the video game. And I'm not saying that Borderlands needed to go for a one-to-one adaptation for everything, but it started stretching from its source material so much, just alone from its casting and its movie rating, and then like choice of director with the art style as well. It just already was looking like, okay, this is going to probably just be Borderlands in name only. And it kept getting worse from there. The script was changed a ton. In fact, it was changed so much that one writer took their name off of it and had to use a pseudonym because there was just so many changes and they didn't want their name attached to the project. And I don't blame them. I honestly feel that, like, originally there was probably a really good Borderlands script that made sense, that was awesome. Because it's not hard to adapt this IP from a video game into a movie. And I feel that script worked at first, but then after so many changes and in pre-production with the directors and also these producers coming in with bad ideas, the PG-13 rating, I feel that rating just dropped, like quality-wise, instantly. One thing I messed around with a little bit, I don't want to get too much into this, but I made just like a general idea with ChatGPT, and it's a real easy to adapt the good, the bad, and the ugly to the Borderlands, like Borderlands 1 story, because they're both Westerns, and they both have different characters that kind of come together. So this wouldn't have been a stretch to do, and maybe the original script was like this, but I just did like an adaptation of that, and it would here's just kind of like a little bit of the summary. I don't want to get like too into this because we'll be here all night, but on the ruthless planet of Pandora, where the strong prey on the weak, and survival is a daily struggle, our four formidable heroes find themselves on a collision course as they race to uncover the secrets of a legendary vault, rumored to contain unimaginable wealth and alien technology. Although they are not alone in their pursuit, an even greater threat looms, determined to claim the vault's power for herself. So then it says the good is Roland, who is played by Kevin Hart, a disciplined and honored former soldier turned mercenary with a strong sense of justice. The bad, Brick, a massive, brutal enforcer known for his unparalleled strength and savage combat skills. He's feared across all of Pandora as well. And then this is the one that's interesting, not the ugly, but the Siren, which is another like different mech. The Siren, Lilith, a mysterious and powerful woman with the ability to phase shift between dimensions. As one of the few remaining Sirens in the galaxy, Lilith is on a personal quest to understand the true nature of her powers, believing the vault has the answers. And then the ugly, which is Mordecai, which was a sniper character, a sharp-eyed sharpshooter with a love for alcohol and his pet bird Bloodwing. He's mostly in it for the money, the greed, and desire for revenge for those who have wronged him in the past. So, just general premise right there. Then the group is fraught by different bandits and Pandora's harsh landscape, battling psychos, feral beast rival factions. And then they find a robot named Claptrap, a little quirky and annoying robot who provides valuable intel and comic relief, which kind of happened in the movie a little bit, but not in a positive way.
Not enough to save it.
Yeah, and then standing in their way is Commandant Steele, a ruthless and cunning militaristic leader, just blood set on finding the vault. So that was like the basic premise for it and everything, and how it, basically could have went down. Like that's like the elevator pitch. It wasn't like really even close to that, unfortunately, even though like this is what it could have been, but the reality was really painful. And unfortunately, like the movie bombed, like not just bombed a little bit, but hardcore bombed. According to Eurogamer.net, the Borderlands movie barely recouped its cost just from its marketing theatrical run. To make matters worse with this and its PR, Randy Pitchford, CEO of Gearbox, he's always known for putting stupid stuff on Twitter, also known as X. And on X, he put on there that like, I wish everything could be a hit, but that's not how it works. The greatest musical act of all time, the Beatles, had a 25% hit rate. And I'm sure every song was done with love and commitment and quality. And then I'm not going to read the rest of the, whatever it's called now, X message, but everyone else started like just coming in with them like 25% hit rate. No, the math on that's terrible. I started going through like all like the number one spots that the Beatles held in like the UK and the US. Like everyone just came on this guy.
It's a terrible example.
It's probably the worst example ever. And it's like, dude, this is not the Beatles as far as movies go. I would say maybe Yellow Submarine, but that's a stretch.
Yeah. Would I rather listen to Yellow Submarine than watch Borderlands? Yes.
At this point, yeah. And we're
I'd
not
rather
big
listen to
Beatles
Yellow
fans.
Submarine on a 2-hour loop
Ooh.
and rewatch Borderlands.
And Borderlands is a shorter movie as well.
Said what I
Borderlands, the
said.
runtime for that movie is like an hour and 40 minutes, which is probably about the length of the show is going to be. Us complaining about the movie. So, I was joking a few weeks ago, like, let's do a movie review of a movie we haven't seen. And I was joking that, like, let's do Borderlands. And so, I went and I edited, I was wrong. I wasn't editing the Flash during this time. I was editing Caleb's Marvelous Marvel Rant, which was like a 3-hour movie. And while I was finishing doing that, I went to go like upload it on YouTube as well. I was waiting for the video to compress, and then I was going to download it, upload it to YouTube. So I start going to check some like Fallout 76 updates because a couple of my friends got me into Fallout 76, and then they bailed like 2 weeks after playing it. I got addicted to it. You know anything about that, Merlin?
Hey man, it wasn't me.
Shut up. So
I was gonna say like it was other people.
you and Cameron.
Yeah,
So-
you sucked me into it.
No, I didn't. You guys bought it on Black Friday, and you're like, this game's fun. Here's us playing banjos. And then I went and I bought a copy after I said, yeah, and then they're sending me screenshots of all the fun they're having, and I'm like, I wasn't going to get this game. And then I got that game, and now I'm hooked on it because the game, like Merlin and Cameron, dropped because the game sucked at the time. But then it kept improving, and now it's actually good, and they don't play with me anymore. Anyway, so I'll tell you how I really feel later.
I was gonna say,
So-
I'm like,
Yeah, thanks, nerds. So I was looking at Fallout 76 stuff because the new patch just dropped. I'm like, I'm just trying to kill the time while the video compresses. And I see a YouTube thumbnail, and I'm not even joking. Like this just blew my mind. It was for the Borderlands movie, and there was 2 thumbnails for this, and I'm like, hold up. And I'm sharing my screen right now, kind of showing this. Here was the legit Borderlands movie. And then on the side of this, there was watch on YouTube to buy or rent the Borderlands movie. And this is like a month after this movie has come out as well. But someone uploaded this in high def. It wasn't like they had like a camera on their shoulder to film this. No,
It was quality.
this is the MPEG version of the movie that was slid into a projector for this. And it was high quality. Like, I could not believe it. And I was just like freaking out over this. It had a legitimate description of it as well. And at the time that I was watching it, also it had hashtags too. Full movie, new movie, Hollywood movies were the hashtags. Was it Borderlands? But either way, but at the time that I saw this up, it was at 21 hours, 1,196,000 views, 405 views. And I just couldn't believe this. And it just shocked me. And then also seeing like the buyer rent this movie next to it, as well as I'm watching the real movie, it's like, oh, why buy the cow when the milk is free? And so there was also a ton of YouTube comments on this because people couldn't believe this was up. And I've sent these to Merlin and Cameron, like some of the best ones. Like there were just so many of these. I think I originally went through like 50 of these, and then like I've cut them down to like 38. Do you guys want to read some of your comments that like were on this video to like really showcase this?
Yeah, so one was LMAO. Even the studio wouldn't get this taken down. ... They're just happy some people are watching it. This new quote, "Who can watch the longest challenge?" end quote is hard AF. Used to be able to tell a bad movie because it went straight to video. Now they go straight to YouTube. Quote, "I wish I could watch new movies on YouTube for free." End quote. / monkey's paw curls. It's so bad, Hollywood doesn't even bother to copyright strike it. LMAO. It's like, damn, dude, this is the first time I've ever seen a new movie posted on YouTube in HD quality.
Right? That was my reaction. Sorry, go on.
No, I was then the most simplest one. I want a refund. The only reason I am watching this because it's free. I would have been pissed if I paid for this. 10 minutes in, I want to walk out of the theater, which is weird because I'm watching this at home. And then the last one was Kevin Hart playing Roland is like Mike Tyson playing George Washington.
Is
Side note for everyone, like when I was walking through the show notes with Caleb and Merlin before the show, they were just laughing. Like after and I'm like, "What are you guys laughing at?" And they're like, "The comments you sent us, they're all hilarious." Like they couldn't even focus for like 2 minutes because they were just laughing at this crap.
Those comments are gold.
And we're not even, and you guys don't even know what each of you were sent. That's the best part.
You don't even know. You don't even know.
Okay, Caleb, your list.
Oh, yeah, this is great. Okay, I can't believe how quickly this critically hated box office bomb got free on YouTube. This one's long, but it's one of the best ones.
It's super long, but it's really good. Yeah.
This is basically Borderlands trying to appeal to the same audience as the Minions. These games are not for kids, so why they decided to make a kids movie out of it is beyond me. What's crazy is they actually filmed this as an R-rated movie, and all those R-rated scenes are on the cutting room floor because they thought that would make more money if they appealed to a wider audience. But all they did was alienate fans of the games by being as inaccurate to the source material as humanly possible. Yeah,
that cuts.
It cuts.
Yeah, I mean, that was from C. Hennon.
Yeah, whoever that is. This one, it feels like someone was given the box art of Borderlands 2 and was told to make a movie from it. This has absolutely none of the wit or heart of the game. It took something with limitless potential and cast it into the gutter. This one, I'm so grateful I can watch this at 2 times the speed and not having to pay for it. The studio deserves to lose money. This one, I think any child under 10 would love this movie. This one, I'm not a Borderlands buff, but it was a free movie that I didn't need to download and it was entertaining. Thanks for the upload. Sure, buddy. Sure. This one, I'm halfway through and I've never wanted a movie to be over this bad. I would have paid to see this, but I was curious. It's not the worst thing ever on its own, but if you were expecting the Borderlands we all know and love, it's just not that at all. These last two are just gold. Krieg being in the opening scene makes sense because this film puts pain into my soul.
One of the phrases from Krieg in the Borderlands series is like, "I'm going to put my pain into your soul."
Right.
So this is a good reference.
This one, quote, "I loved the movie. There were guns and they were shot. I haven't seen the movie yet, but the check cleared," end quote.
All right. And then here are some of the ones that I got. I want to be like, these are the best of the best, but these were just really, really good. I miss made-for-TV movies. Glad they're bringing these back.
Got 'em.
Ever found a gym and found out that it was a turd? Question mark. And then there's a couple here. At the mark of like 44:18, there's a can of Axe body spray sitting on the table. And I put my notes, like, there really was. And this was in a bar, by the way. Like a bar used for drinking, and there's a can of Axe body spray on the table. And then there were more comments about the Axe body spray, like, why is there a can of Axe body spray? Just chilling. Here was one that I just love.
Kevin Hart's.
Probably Kevin Hart. It reminded me of the Game of Thrones Starbucks cup in the last season. It had that type of attitude, except I'm sure this was on purpose for product placement. So, same energy, though. But this is my favorite one, because this is just filled with regret. So pissed, ... I literally paid to watch this with my kids, and we all hated it. Now it's free. God is cruel to me. I tried to watch it for the cringe, but I only made it 12 minutes in. This is too powerful.
This is too powerful.
This is the last Airbender for Borderlands fans.
Yes.
Let's be real. If a movie bombs, it should be immune from piracy laws. That sounds like a good song lyric. Yeah, and then out of 1 million views, not a single like. I love democracy. Even though this was free, I feel like I lost everything just by watching. Sobbing face. I thought this video was a freaking meme, but LMFAO is literally just the entire movie on YouTube for free. I guess that kind of makes it a meme in its own right. And then LMFAO, all the comments shitting on this movie, and I agree. I'm 5 minutes in, and I'm like, holy fuck, this is bad. Solid 5 out of 10. Wouldn't call it entirely unwatchable. Some of it is.
Some of it is.
And then I think, here's the one I'm going to end with. Lionsgate going for the Morbius YouTube bootleg boost. I guess you can't blame them, and I thank them. Being able to watch it at 2x speed made me kind of enjoy the movie, especially the performances, even though I felt like the studio did like a writing for like a note down LSD. I don't know what that means, but whatever. Anyway, I went and when I saw the link for this, I was obviously freaking out. And so I sent this to Merlin, Cameron, and Caleb, thinking they were going to drop everything and watch this. Not really, actually. I didn't think any of them would. And Caleb did, which I was really surprised at, and he finished it before I did, which was even crazier. So I posted the link, and we're going to read through the chat, like, as this happened, and this went over, like, a couple different chats, because I had a couple DMs with Merlin, a couple DMs with Caleb, and, like, this just, like, all, like, this is how it pretty much looked together. So, me, in all caps. It's on fucking YouTube. Someone put the whole fucking thing on YouTube. The whole fucking movie. Caleb.
Right, yeah. Said no fucking way.
LMFAO in all caps. I think it's going to get taken down, but fuck. I can't believe this. I think I'm going to watch it.
So why the fuck not, right?
I've started it. It looks bad, guys. Real bad.
Well, since it's free,
Sometimes there's a high price to pay for things that are free. This is one of those times.
And then I responded with cat emoji screaming for 3 times.
Bruh, I'm going to watch it. I just finished uploading stuff to YouTube, and Squarespace, who was not the sponsor of today's episode. And, and after that, I'm going to spend an hour and a half hate watching this cinematic turd.
Just find it funny that you have these top actors in this movie, and it's so bad. Like, not even George Clooney could save it.
Wait, hold up. George Clooney is in this?
And I responded with, no, he's not. I was just making a joke, because, you know, he shows up at the end of The Flash.
Yeah, that is true. I also heard George's new Apple TV movie with Brad Pitt isn't that good, which is a shame because it sounded good.
Same.
shame. It is a big shame.
Dude, Caleb, this episode of Borderlands is going to be insane.
I said, yeah, dude. Wow.
It's pretty much going to be The Flash because of all the controversy beforehand.
So, yeah, this movie is something.
You watching it? I sent you a link.
I said, yes, I am watching it.
Wait, for real?
I'm 55 minutes in.
Dude, I haven't even started. I was about to. Holy wow.
Let me just say that it's a...
I started for a bit and then I paused it and I waited a moment to like fully focus. And then I got everything uploaded to go live tomorrow for the MCU episode. So I'll get my notes ready to fully focus on this. It's going to be a fun show.
And then I said, like it's a pretty good cast, and the girl that's kind of the main quest is a little annoying, but then she's not even the worst or the shortest. Looking at you, Kevin Hart.
So that was a conversation like I had with everyone. I still can't believe that Caleb was watching it. Like I was in such disbelief.
It's free.
And, well, it was free. I just didn't expect like everyone like actually watch it. Did you like at least crank up the speed when you were watching it, or was it just like in the background?
I watched it in the background. So we were watching. I forget what we were watching at the same time. It might have been Guys Grocery Games. Knowing the timeline, it was probably Guys Grocery Games.
Not Ant-Man Quantumania?
No, I didn't want both of my ears to. Never mind. We won't get into that. But anyway, yes, I was watching it kind of on the side. But I mean, even kind of watching it on the side, it was just like, what in the actual fuck is this movie?
Right? And when I watched it, it was. I want to get into the movie now. I'm not going to put up a spoiler tag for everyone because no one's going to see this movie.
That's not necessary.
If you did, you would have seen it on YouTube already. For this movie that had a month theatrical run, whereas Deadpool is still in theaters, and it's yeah, and it's still in theaters, and it's been out for like way longer. So just something kind of crazy. So Caleb, let's you and I get into the movie and how bad this was. So, yeah. So I'm not gonna lie. I was at my computer. I had my laptop open, notes ready to go. I cracked I knew this was gonna be a painful experience. So I cracked open like a nice ice cold A&W zero sugar root beer, which I cannot recommend nearly enough. Especially right now, I'm drinking like a Zevia zero sugar root beer, and it's not as good. The A&W zero sugar root beers rock, man. So it was like my comfort food, which was really good. But I started watching the movie. I hit play, and I kept having to pause just like take notes for everything. So I'm going to kind of walk everyone like with my notes and like what was going on here, because it's just weird. So within the first 15 minutes, I'm reminded that this is like The Flash. A lot of CGI, but no substance. The opening intro music was kind of good, and I put this in my notes. The soundtrack might be decent. Soundtrack sounded all right. No. Oh no. Oh God, no. And so it takes a dive quick. Instantly, there's exposition screens with tons of Borderlands stuff, talking about companies, characters, etc. We really wouldn't be seeing any of that information again. It was like a one and done, a setup with no payoff. So then it goes to a spaceship and a heist is happening. Roland, the shortest soldier, Kevin Hart pops in to rescue Tina, or Tiny Tina, Ariana Greenblatt. She's famous for the girl in the Barbie movie. And it was just kind of odd. And instantly, like, they start making short jokes for Kevin Hart. Like, it just came, I don't want to say naturally, like, but it's happened in so many movies, it's like, I'm kind of sick of it. Just like, I'm sick of seeing Kevin Hart. Like, he's rivaling, like, Chris Pratt for me seeing it in too many movies. So, they're getting ready to leave the ship for this heist, because it looks like Roland's going to bust out Tina, and then Krieg, this guy who is like a psycho, just huge buff, just kind of crazy, just breaks out of this glass instantly of his prison on the ship, just out of nowhere. He could have probably broken out at any time, and he just shouts, "It's time to go insane!" And I feel like this is a metaphor for watching this movie. But I will say, like, that Krieg, when they show him, he's got his psycho mask on that he had in the games too, which was kind of cool. But also, it's like, you're a prisoner on a ship up in space. Did they let him keep the mask and wear it? Like, I have questions for this movie, and we're only 5 minutes in at this point.
Yeah.
So then they escape. Then we jump to another planet and we meet Lilith, the protagonist of this movie, played by Cate Blanchett, who, amazing actress. Caleb's basically in love with her. Caleb's basically in love with her. So in the Borderlands game, there's 4 protagonists, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. Roland, which we talked about, Kevin Hart, Lilith, who Cate Blanchett, and then Brick and Mordecai. Brick and Mordecai are absent throughout this movie. So obviously Lilith is going to be the main focus of this movie, which there's nothing wrong with. But it was like they had a lot of other material to pull from, and they just chose to take out 2 of the main characters from the original game and just have them completely absent. And then they replaced them with characters from other games, moving them in because they had like more of a broader fan appeal, because they're a little more interesting, but they're also like not interesting. It's like they're interesting towards the people that, like, you know, in high school that like wore a lot of like monster gear type of thing. It's interesting for those types of people that have grown up to now punch drywall and are possibly named Kyle. So, you know the type I mean, right, Caleb? I'm not alone in this.
I don't know what else they'd be named.
Yeah. So we go to Lilith, and like, it reminded me of like her exposition and everything, and like her acting. She reminds me of the female Michael Keaton.
It was so clunky.
Yeah, she has so much potential, and like we'll always love her. But like, this movie was like a waste of her talent, just kind of like how The Flash was a waste of Michael Keaton's talent. But there was a lot of great actors and actresses in The Flash that were definitely beneath that.
It's one of those. It's literally the second time that we've kind of had this type of situation where it's like these people, these great actors get cast into these garbage movies.
Yeah,
and you can tell that as the movie goes on, as they shoot these scenes, that there's just less and less effort, and the eyes just get a little deader every time, you know?
And it's just kind of, it's really sad. To me, it's a little insulting to the actor, besides the paycheck they got. But it reminds me of like the saying, like, I think it was Michael Caine for Jaws 3. Someone asked him about that movie, and he said, well, I know the paycheck from it bought my mom a really nice house. So I remember that. And this is kind of what that is to me.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. That's all that it can be worth, you know? It's like when a celebrity that you like
starts phoning it in,
product that
you
sucks,
hate.
you know? And you're like, listen, I will never buy this product, but I'm happy you're getting paid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then we have the opposite end of the spectrum, a celebrity you don't like who endorses every product, who happens to be in the Borderlands movie, Kevin Hart. Hooray.
I think there's anything he doesn't endorse
He
or
will
do.
do anything for $1, man.
Yeah, the dude is...
I actually looked online to see if he had a Cameo account before the show, because I wanted to make a Cameo joke, but he does not have that.
Doesn't have a Cameo account?
Well, he
He's
doesn't have
too
a Cameo.
big for a Cameo? Like, get out of here, dude.
No. Hold on. Let me correct this. He doesn't have a Cameo account yet. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's more accurate, because give him a couple years.
Yeah. So back to the movie, Lilith is beating someone in the bar and interrogating him. What she's saying, like the dialogue doesn't fit. And this kind of goes back to the script writing, having multiple script writers, things change, producers probably wanted to have like things run, like certain lines added in. They're like, where are we going to fit this? It feels like bad pulp noir written by ChatGPT, but not with my fun little prompts that I use, but by someone just like figuring this out and how to use it. So then she's approached by a group of men who offer her a contract. They fight, then talk. The head mob guy says, my employer is not one for waiting. And Lilith replies, who is? Good point, but this is like, it didn't fit. And I feel like that was a line that was like set around like the producer's office. It's like, Tim doesn't feel like waiting, and they're like, who does? And they're like, ooh, I'm going to change that just enough to get an executive producer credit on Borderlands. So, and they're like, yeah, let's throw that into the movie. And, man. So then Caleb sent me another message. If you were watching this, holy shit, this movie is almost worse than The Flash. I mean, holy shit. And I had to throw this in. Right. So it's, yeah. And we meet the boss.
Stand by those statements.
Yeah. We meet the boss of who Lilith needs to meet with in the form of a necklace. Like someone puts on the necklace and then they put like a projection of their face and like vocals on someone's like face and body. It looks distorted and it doesn't work, especially the head. Cool concept, terrible execution. It's like when you have an action figure that's broken as a kid and you take one head off of one action figure and put it on another one
on the other.
To make, yeah, it's like
Sid
that.
from Toy Story.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Dude, it's like as if Sid from Toy Story wrote this fucking movie.
Yeah. And the thing is like, I have a couple of those action figures assembled from like broken parts. I love them, but they're not something I would share with the world.
Ooh.
And I feel like that needs to be a metaphor for this movie along with everything else. I'm going to put the pain into your soul. So Caleb had a couple other quotes here. I'm just going to read these instead of sending you, Caleb. I'm going to do my best Caleb impression. Like, no, I'm kidding. Like, it's just one of those movies that doesn't develop anything. Stuff just happens to happen. So it could happen. That is so,
that's true.
So true. It's not even video game cheesy. Like, video games are cheesy, but that's okay. They are cheesy. This is cheese levels that I didn't think were possible. And then you said this movie made Captain Marvel seem like it could win awards at the Razzie Awards. I am blown away by how bad this movie is. So the big bad boss guy is named Atlas, played by Edgar Ramirez. He owns a big corporation, and his daughter has been kidnapped. Dun, dun, dun. His daughter is obviously Tina, who Roland rescued in the first scene in the movie, and she's on Pandora.
Sure? They didn't. I don't know.
It's hard to tell. I had to actually sift through the comments
to finish the movie to make sure. Yeah, because
I didn't even finish
that
the movie.
reveal wasn't going to be obvious.
I went through the comments to help me because I was that dumb. So now we get exposition about Pandora from Lilith, and she's like, "Let me tell you everything you need to know about Pandora." So one of the biggest rules of filmmaking is like you show, you don't tell.
Right.
But the rules of filmmaking don't apply here. Instead, it's like tell and show. And none of this like makes sense. And so she says the line, "It's a shithole. I should know. I'm from here." So now we have the trope of I got out of this shitty town. I've made something to myself. I don't want to go back. But, you know, at the end of the movie, I'm going to love this place, which...
They just keep pulling me back in.
Yeah, they keep pulling me back in. So, and then as this is happening, Lilith shoots a scrounger dog creature, which is not to be confused with those who play the game, which are called skags. It looks nothing like a skag. Like, they're not even, like, bothering to take, like, some of, like, the animals or, like, the cool things in the movie. They're just throwing in random things at this point. Like, it's turned into, like, Borderlands at name only.
Yep.
And so, she then says, it's the kind of place you don't ever want to return. So the sooner I can find the girl, the sooner I can get out of here. And this is, like, so generic. Like I said, Pulp Noir, Chat GPT. And as we're getting the bad narration and bad writing that's happening, they throw in famous one-liners from the Borderlands game. One is catch a ride. Like, you hear that in the background. And I think this was, like, written, like I said, the first draft was phenomenal and, like, had all these references, but then everyone's like, you know, let's just take these and let's just do a Mad Lib format and just start plugging and playing these wherever we happen, wherever we can. And it's just so ridiculous, and it's absurd, and it's shameful. And I don't know who does that type of stuff. Also, please tell your friends about this show.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we are only 10 minutes into this movie at this point, by the way. I'm going to go through a lot quicker for this, but like the first 10 minutes does feel like a drag. The whole movie feels like a drag, but so
10 minutes especially, though, I agree. They tried to put a lot into those first 10 minutes, so they didn't have to put it anywhere for the rest of the movie.
The rest of it. So Lilith hitches a ride on a bus from Mark. Not Marcus like in the game, just Mark. And there was no reason to change his character's name. Speaking as, you know, someone who is named Mark and goes by MCS1. Like, I don't get why people do that. But, so, it didn't really make sense, but, so the actor that played Marcus, his name was Benjamin Byron Davis. He was spot on, like, with his voice, mannerisms, like, everything from the video game. It was a 1-to-1 conversion. I feel like there needs to be an award for someone that does a really good job acting in a bad movie, but plays their character so well. I feel like this guy deserves it. Same with the character that played Krieg as well. Yes. He did a phenomenal job with what he had, but, you know, bad script. So gets to Firestone. And this is where Borderlands 1, Lilith is still like narrating. And then this is like when it occurred to me. There was a lot of that. But the way this occurred to me is this is trying to be a Western, but like a silly Western that's like a spaghetti Western, but also not. And this is high budget and it's not delivering. So then Lilith meets Claptrap, which is like a little robot that's supposed to be funny and self-deprecating and kind of annoying. Like, that's how he is in the games. Instead, he is all of those things to 11 and then played by Jack Black. So he's just really annoying.
That was just one of the casting choices that I was just
no one agreed with. And he's voice acting him, and he doesn't really even sound like it just didn't work.
It didn't sound like Claptrap at all.
No.
You know, and I'm not an expert on the games, but I remember Claptrap from the game.
Yeah, and we're not saying one-for-one conversion or anything like that.
It's fine.
But he's also acting completely different.
Terrible. And
yeah, and as a character, it's just not even good. So Lilith gets upset about Claptrap being around and just shoots him, just kind of comes out of nowhere, like, hey, I'm pissed, I'm going to pop you one. And so, like, this sounds funny on paper, but it was really poorly executed. But due to his armored shell, the bullets do nothing, and so he sticks around. And
in the game,
apparently
you can't kill him. I get it.
And apparently Claptrap has been lying dormant for 36 years and was reactivated when Lilith returned because someone programmed him for that. And he's able to access, like, things, like, on the internet, like movies and things like that, like surveillance. And he was able to see, like, where Tina was last spotted. And so Lilith and Claptrap go and they steal some wheels, or rather catch a ride, and then they go over to snag Tina. and they meet up with Tina, and Tina doesn't want to go and starts throwing stuffed bunnies with explosives at Lilith, which in the game is really funny. In the movie, it was kind of funny, but like not super great.
Again, poorly executed.
Yeah, there's just a lot of bad execution.
Poorly executed.
Correct. And so then Krieg shows up. He starts fighting. I'm not going to lie. This was actually a very good scene. It was very Krieg. A lot of Krieg one-liners, and they sounded very on point. This was probably the best scene in the movie, to be honest. And then eventually Lilith gets close to Tina to talk, and Tina just kind of sucks. Her lines are bad. The chemistry is awful. Once again, the execution. Yeah. And moments that where they're like, I'm not going back with you. And then out of nowhere, one of the antagonists shows up, General Knox. Who's played by, I'm going to butcher her name, Janina Gankinkar, who is actually a very talented actress and talented voice actress. Caleb, have you played Far Cry 4? She plays a character she plays Anita in Far Cry 4. Merlin's played Far Cry 4. He was going to go nuts over this. He just bounced a little bit ago. But she does a ton of video game voice acting work as well. She's just phenomenally talented. The first time I saw her, actually she did a fake commercial for something called Herbicol DX, and it was like a herpes commercial. And she's like talking for 30 seconds about herpes, and then it ends, like stops for a second, and it's just two people sitting across from her. And then this guy walks out who's like dating her, and they're about to kiss. And their friends are like, whoa, this chick just spent the last 10 minutes talking about how she has herpes. And it was just like super hilarious, self-deprecating.
It's awesome.
It was great, very down to earth. But overall, very talented actress. And so she's playing General Knox, and Tina's like, you're going to take me, you in what army? And General, so obviously she's got an army. So an army shows up, just like completely out of nowhere, just like how Knox snuck up. The whole army snuck up. And they're ready to take Tina. So she throws a bunny bomb at Knox, causing a huge boom. And then everything starts falling apart, both literally and figuratively. And then Deus Ex Machina happens when Roland shows up kind of out of nowhere in a van to grab everyone. And then they step on the gas, and then they get out of danger. I think with the exact line that was written like in the script, a chase scene shootout happens. But Roland does a special car maneuver, which I'll refer to as the Pandora Drift, and then loses the bad guys as they drive through a piss water gully, and where there's gas and urine everywhere. This kind of reminds me of the Lego movie, where it's like going from one place to another at a very rapid pace. This is kind of what Borderlands is starting to do. We're 30 minutes into this movie at this point. As we're getting more into the movie, we find out that Tina is the daughter of Iridia, and she can open the vault because she herself is one of the keys. Lilith hates the idea of the vault because her mom died going to get the vault, type of thing. So she hates her mom and her mom's quest for the vault. She hates where she's from. Lilith is just a hater and not the fun hater like Caleb and I.
We're super fun.
We're super fun. So we get to the bar, and there's a can of Axe body spray. Normal, just normal for Pandora. No wonder it's a terrible place. Everyone smells so awful. Going through piss water gully and everything. So, Moxie, played by Gina Gersha, she's a bar owner, very minor character. She knew Lilith's mom, so they meet up with Lilith and her mom, and not her mom, but like they talk about her mom briefly, and she's like, your mom cared about you, and it's very homecoming type of trope, and it's just like I said, poorly executed.
But also the trope of your parents sucked. Wait, no, they didn't.
Yeah, exactly. So then they meet up with Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays Patricia Tanis, or Professor Tanis. And then
that was, I think, the one that pissed me off the most. Anyway,
Caleb has a line in here right now, and he says, Jamie Lee Curtis adds nothing. And I kind of thought about it. If you did remove her from this movie, not much would be missed, like her character. Yeah.
She doesn't do anything.
And yeah, and like we've mentioned, one problem with this movie is there's so many great actors, but a bad script and odd chemistry, which is crazy because everyone did like the casting. But
Well, Jamie Lee Curtis is in a lot of things that I really like, and she does a good job in a lot of movies, you know?
it was interesting. She had a statement that came out recently. I can't remember like what it was like verbatim, but it was like something about like art and movies and things like that. And people were just like, "You were in Borderlands," and I kind of
Got her.
I kind of feel like that's like the thing to say to like anyone now that was in that movie.
Yeah, which
Except
is
for,
really
like,
sad.
Except for like who played Krieg and Marcus, like those
Yeah.
guys, they killed it. It's like, dude, you guys were in Borderlands. You made that tolerable. So
Should have featured them more.
I wish they would have. Tina reveals like Atlas, the mob boss, isn't really her dad, but her creator, and she is like a clone type of thing. It's weird. So it's a sad scene, but it just doesn't land. So 45 minutes in, I start cranking up the speed on YouTube
Sure.
to 1.25.
Sure.
So Claptrap is wandering around. He sees Knox and the army, and they're coming. Also, this movie at a higher speed felt a lot less painful at this point. So the whole
See it?
there's a scene in the trailer for this. The whole scene from YouTube, as I'll describe it, where there's like a hole in the middle, and everyone pops their head around it, like pulls a movie poster, and then like they all start talking, and then out of nowhere, Claptrap gets kicked by Roland down, and he's like, "Destiny awaits," and then they all just like go down the hole. It was supposed to be funny, he just didn't execute. And then they end up running into a bunch of psychos, bandits, ended up having a shootout. But there's no real reason, like there's no explanation about them except like these are just bad people. Let's shoot them.
Right? It's like, oh, they're bad guys. Get them.
Yeah, and
Right.
at this point, like I felt like it was like I was into this movie like so I don't want to say deep, but it felt like I was super tired at this point. Like it felt like
That's a good
4
way to
a.m.
put it.
It felt like it was 4 a.m. for me, and I was ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And it was just getting rough. So on top of that, this fight scene incurs. Krieg kills some people, but as the action keeps happening, everything's cut away from all of the action. So you don't get to see things. It's like the opposite of a John Wick film. But it just didn't like really land because they're cutting away, not seeing anyone die or not. And then it's like that type of rule, like if you don't see someone die on screen, are they really dead?
Right.
So at this point we're about an hour into the movie. Something happened where they're getting chased by these bandits, and Roland decides to stay behind, and he throws a bunny bomb, kills a bunch of psychos, and then he's like having a tunnel scene, shooting straight towards people, like people just running into the bullets. It's like a Jean-Claude Van Damme sequence.
Vin Seagal.
Yeah, Steven Seagal moment. And so, Roland, you don't know if you're going to live or die, but he'll be fine. And then Tina somehow uses her magic powers that came out of nowhere to escape. I don't know what happened. My mind was actually kind of gone at this point. Somehow all the vault keys were assembled, and Tannis is like, here's a map. I know where we need to go. And the third key is Tina. But
that part confused me, like, to no end. Like, oh, there's the vault. This is where we need to go. I was like, why are you saying this?
And the best part about that was, it's like, oh, by the way, Tina might die. And it was like,
right.
But it was like, but that's a risk we got to take. It's like, really? Do we need to open that vault? Like, what's really, what's really driving us to do this? I mean, just hide the other vault key. Atlas doesn't find them. I mean, yeah.
Just hide this vault key.
Yeah, just, I don't hide anything. So, anyway, we cut back to Roland. He's okay. And this was like a 5 to 10 second thing, and that was it. Just to show he's okay. Come back to Lilith and Claptrap for some reason. Atlas contacts Lilith. He's pissed. He yells at her, wants Tina back, throws out some threats. Tina sees the whole conversation, and she's not cool with it. This person who she knows, who was originally hired to, abduct her and get her back, well, it turns out the client is her dad. But it's like, okay, well, who else would it be? Yeah.
If you've seen any story ever, it's like, oh, I wonder what the relationship is with this guy and this random girl that he keeps trying to. They're what?
Yeah. So Tina's not cool with it. So naturally, we see another bunny bomb being thrown, and then Tina runs. Lilith wakes up. Some time has passed. It's daytime. Lilith and Claptrap walk through an old village, and this was the last place Lilith saw her mom. Gasp. The movie tries to be heartfelt. It just, like everything else, doesn't land. So they visit Lilith's mom's old home. They look through old photographs. A hologram appears from Claptrap, and it's Lilith's mom and just comes up out of nowhere. And you find out that Lilith's mom is the one who programmed Claptrap, and that Lilith is special, and not much else is ever explained. So then we have a hard cut back to Tina, Krieg, and Tanis. They're going to go open the vault, use the key to open it, and then the movie could end, credits roll, directed by Eli Roth. Or does it? So Tina can't. I had a lot of fun writing that. Or I put a lot of question marks. So apparently Tina can't open the vault because she's not the special one, even though she was specifically cloned and engineered to open this vault, and she can't do it. So naturally, it's like, to make defeat even worse, a bunch of psychos, General Knox, and worst of all, her dad shows up. So then we get... Shut up, Dad. Shut up, Dad. So then we get a speech from, I feel like everyone was giving a speech at that point, all the villains, and then Roland comes in and just starts shooting. But Atlas has plot armor, or a force field, and just puts it on, and he's like, yeah, I got this force field, so he's fine. Literal plot armor. Knox...
especially that, too, because it came out of nowhere.
Yeah. So Knox is...
I have a force field, and it's like, since when?
Yeah. Well, here's the other part that, got me really bad. So General Knox, she's not having a good idea about this whole opening the vault thing. But it's already been established that Tina can't open the vault. And even though she might die, from opening it, but it's like, well, she can't do anything, so whatever. But Knox is just having bad vibes about this. And so Atlas has, a gunship, and he just blasts her with it, out of nowhere. She's like, hey, I'm having second doubts. I mean, the checks have been clearing, but, and then, they just blasted her, which I feel like is a metaphor for this movie or whatever. All the actors are like, I don't know about this movie, but the check's cleared, so whatever.
My mama house.
Yeah. And then, so Lilith is like, you know what? I'm special. I'm a daughter of Iridia. I can open this vault. And then everyone's like, okay, open the vault. And she's like, I don't want to. And then Atlas is like, I'll kill Tina. I'll kill my daughter. So she's like, all right, fine.
I'll do it.
I'll do it. He twisted my arm. Lilith still goes through all these flashbacks of everyone telling her special. We have this montage of this as well. And then she also threatens Atlas for a little bit before this whole thing happened. And then Tina was like, this, I got to mention this moment. Tina's like, I thought I was special. And then Lilith's like, well, you are, just not the way you thought. And that is the ultimate definition of a participation trophy right there.
Yeah. Sorry that you're not actually good enough for anything, but you're still special.
Yeah. So Atlas is throwing out threads, but Lilith is like, hey, I'll open up the vault and we all go free. And Atlas is like, sure, why not? That's all I wanted. And I don't feel that's, he's obviously, quote, the villain. I don't feel that's really a negative thing here. This is all he's really wanted. He's been paying people. He's been pretty upfront about everything. He wanted his daughter back just so she could open the vault. I'm not defending the dude, but this was a pretty reasonable deal. Everyone gets what they wanted. So Lilith is pretty sure she's going to die, so is everyone else. But she's good, and then she becomes the Firehawk. And then she has wings, powers, and plot armor. And so Atlas threatens her, and then she knocks him into a pit, and he's about to fall in, but he grabs something on the side. It stays up towards the surface, and it's probably written that way on the script, to be honest. So Tina's then thrown into the same pit. Lilith throws a fireball into it, which grabs Tina and somehow pulls her up. This is weird levels right now of whatever. Everyone's kind of like, whoa, and the army and the psychos, they're just kind of like chilling because they're in awe of like all this happening, and they're probably just like everyone else in the audience, what is going on? And they're not doing anything negative. They're just kind of like I said, chilling. Then Roland shouts, "Make it rain, Tina!" And then Tina starts throwing bombs at these dudes who didn't really seem like they wanted to fight in the first place. They're just mercenaries and hired guns. So ends up having a shootout scene, a bunch of violence. So Tina, Roland, Krieg, and Tanis, they just are all get literally covered in fire armor, Lilith's literal plot armor, and bullets hit them. They bounce off. And then Atlas gets his gunship, blasts Lilith. Lilith starts blasting Atlas with fire. It's weird. It's a literal battle of plot armor. And then Lilith decides to go in the ship. And then, like me, when I ask girls out on dates, she literally gets shut down. The plot armor disappears around, like from everyone. And then Lilith falls to the ground. She gets up. She's pissed. She uses her plot armor to fight the ship. But then she ends up winning. Everyone wins. And now they're fighting against, like, I don't know at this point. Everyone's just like still fighting, but like the battle's over.
The bad guys.
And then like there's like all this dust, it settles, and then Lilith's flying above everyone with wings. Atlas shows that like now he's holding Tina hostage, demanding to be taken to the vault. Literally what the guy wanted from the start. I don't see why we had to just like, I don't know, turn against this dude. So Lilith opens the vault, all three of them go inside. It's very dark and cyan. Lilith then sucker punches Atlas and then leaves him in the vault for some monster. This could have happened the whole time.
Could have done it without the shooting.
So then there's a victory party thrown back in Sanctuary City, and it's kind of like the ending of Return of the Jedi with all the celebrating but without the caring. And then Caleb, I have a comment from him. The emotional music is playing, and I just don't care. So
yeah, I remember that moment.
Yeah,
yep.
and this is like, as I'm describing this is literally what it was. Like, if it sounds like it's hard to follow, it's because it is. And so then Tina asks Lilith to do the Firehawk thing, and that's the end of the movie in a Borderlands style for the credits, which was the only art direction that matched. And the credits at Krieg were probably the most like, so, but and Marcus, the only thing like source material for the movie. And then Caleb sent me this message when he finished it. Just finished the movie. Holy shit, I think I gotta cleanse my palate. Time to watch Guy's Grocery Games. There you go. And then
those of you who haven't watched Guy's Grocery Games, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Every season is on Max.
So, and then lastly, Claptrap was dancing mid-credits, which was kind of interesting. I was really hoping... Yeah, I was hoping that Nick Fury was going to show up and recruit everyone at the end of the movie. Which would have been interesting because Randy Pitchford said back in, I think it was April, he was going to have a Borderlands cinematic universe.
Lord.
And good luck with that, especially how bad this movie bombed. It only had a month runtime.
BCU.
Yeah, leaked on YouTube, and now they just lost a ton of money for this. But as the movie bombed, Borderlands 4 was announced shortly after, which it's kind of like, hey, we did bad on this, but maybe this other thing we're going to do good on. Who knows?
So yeah. Wow.
It was a trip. It was a rough watch for all of us.
I found a comment online, and this guy's quoting Macbeth. And it sums up my thoughts about this movie perfectly. And it says, "It's a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing and going nowhere."
I feel like your line where you were talking about like things are happening just so they can happen and keep happening. I feel like that was what summed this up the best.
I'm flabbergasted. Like, don't use that word nearly enough about this movie because it's just, I have no idea what was happening.
It was a special kind of bad movie.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen, and we talked about the movie Man Off the Hands of Fate on this, which has been dubbed by some people the worst movie of all time. But it's so, there are some things, and I use this with Rebecca Black's Friday as well. It's so bad, it's good.
Right.
And that's how I felt about Manos. It's so bad, it's good.
Yeah.
But with Borderlands, it's just like, it's so bad, it's bad.
Right. Well, and then it's like, I remember, this is something that I was going to put in the chat, and I forgot to, so I'll just say it now because it's funny.
Why not?
But watching this movie made me long for the days of Halle Berry's Catwoman when she plays basketball.
Oh,
that scene! If you haven't seen that scene, look it up on YouTube later. It's one of the cringiest things you will ever. It's so bad. I remember seeing that scene, and I don't know why, but while I was watching Borderlands, that movie came back to my mind, and I was like, holy shit, that's better than this.
What's crazy is this year we have had some crazy box office bombs from Madam Web, which we're not going to discuss on the show, I hope, but also recently the Crow remake.
That one.
I can't remember if we talked about the Crow on this episode or not. I think we talked about it on a different episode, but I was like, no, we talked about this in a chat with each other. We were talking about the Crow, and I said, did we really need, because the world has had like a ton of Crow sequels, and did we need those Crow sequels? No. Did we need a Crow reboot? No. And then I said, I wasn't a fan of the original Crow. Did we even need that movie? No. And like, I was like, I think I said that we were talking about that yesterday, and I was building up towards that.
Yeah.
That was kind of mean. But I just wasn't a fan of the Crow in general. But then it's like, it didn't make sense or whatever.
It was basically just, the Crow was just the movie Harry for dudes.
And the Crow didn't make sense. Like, you didn't like have superpowers of the Crow or anything like that. Not to get like too off topic. I did find the original statement for the joke of what I said here. There are things that I don't want sequels to as well, but they happened and they weren't good. Altered Carbon Season 12. Anything from The Simpsons after Season 12. Altered Carbon Season 2. Anything after Season 12 of The Simpsons. The Crow sequels. The Crow reboot. The Crow.
So true.
And then I said right after that, real talk, The Crow wasn't that good. And then you said like right after, I was waiting for you to say The Crow. Like, it was so obvious.
It was so.
And I get like that the original actor died in it, which is really unfortunate or whatever, but people, they hold on to that. And the soundtrack for The Crow is killer. But other than that, like, it just did not resonate with me. But I have
movies that have killer soundtracks that suck, though.
Well, yeah, like, okay, Spawn the movie had a killer soundtrack, great graphics, not a great plot.
Oh. But I will watch that movie because the soundtrack is kick-ass.
Super kick-ass, man.
You know? The same thing with, like, the first Suicide Squad movie with Will Smith. Great soundtrack.
Great soundtrack.
Ferocious movie.
We spent, I think we did like a 2-hour show trashing that, or an hour and 10 minutes. Originally we did like 3 hours of recording, and I edited it down to like an hour and 10 minutes because of all the stuff that went with that. And like, I only saw it that one time, and then we went and did the movie review for that, and I was like, never again.
That movie, it was so bad.
It was something else. So
It was a movie. It certainly was a movie of all time.
It was a movie that happened.
Just stuff was just happening just so that it can happen.
Oh man! All right, I don't have any further thoughts on this movie that we've trashed enough. I hope we can get away from movie reviews soon, outside of this Fallout one, which we'll be having really
more
soon.
Positive. That will be more positive review.
And I'm excited for that because I legitimately love Fallout.
Great show.
So we'll be doing that real soon. So anyway, that's our show. I want to thank Merlin and Caleb for coming on. And until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
Thank you for listening to the MCS1 show. If you like the show, please subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. All voices on the show are not AI generated, celebrity voices are impersonated, and no droids were harmed during the production of this show. For more information about the show notes and links, head over to the MCS1show.com or search AOL keyword MCS1.